jumps here are probably the scariest for the average rider and for the pros. When jumps like this, you kind of want to size them up, possibly, if you can without hurting yourself or landing too hard, is to jump a little bit past the takeoff ramp to see how far it is, and you know, that's probably the safest and best ways to size something up. So we're going to do it both ways, this way without jumping it, the next way with a little bit more gas, and sometimes that's all it takes is just a little bit more gas to get over these things. But I wouldn't recommend it until you are confident and comfortable with what you're doing. So right there you saw that I had to jump, let off the gas, get back on the gas, let off the gas, and get back on the gas again. So when you commit to jumps like this, you can take that second jump out and not having to let off the gas, and then you're on the gas all the way down the hill. There we go for the one. Woo! So I made one jump, and then, as you see, right when I was on the ground, I landed and I was on the gas all the way down to the corner. Coming off this jump here, standing up, right when I'm coming into it, I'm standing up, and then I get into the bike. Come into the bike, and when I come up, I come back up with the bike. So the bike's squatting down, so am I. Bike's coming up, so am I. I'm going with the bike. And when the bike's coming up, then I lean my body forward to get the front end down, tap the back brake to get it more down, and then over the third one. So it's one movement, you know, everything's with the bike, never doing something the bike's not doing. When the bike's compressing, so are you. When the bike's extending, so are you. You're coming up with it. And the bike's going forward, so are you. You're coming over the bike. Tap the back brake, and with your weight, we'll bring the front end down over the third one. You want to compress the back suspension. You want to get that down so when it comes up, it'll get you more air, get you more lift. So you kind of want to sit more back here on the bike from the middle to the back, not up front. That'll get you more compression. So you're coming in here, sitting back here on the bike, off the jump, in the air. You're bringing your body forward to bring the front end down, maybe even tap the back brake to get it down more, to get it over the third one. So there is one technique, up, and then how it has a ramp like this, you kind of go with that as sitting on the bike. Come down, down, and then up, and you're coming up with the bike. On this jump here, it's one jump. It's very easy to jump real high, real far. You're still jumping out there, but you're scrubbing your speed off, so you're staying a little bit lower, and you're getting on the ground a little quicker than you would if you just jumped off the thing, landed hard, and got on the gas. When you come up to jump to scrub your speed off, it's a tricky thing. You want to come into the jump, turn your front end, and lean the bike over. That means the wheels are going to start to lose traction, to slide a little bit. Like I say, it takes practice. You don't just go and do it. Everybody that you see is doing it in the pro ranks have been riding for 15, 20 years. Scrubbing the speed off when you watch Bubba and the rest of the pros is how you stay lower on the jump to get to the ground quicker, to get on the gas, to get the power down. And because when you're in the air too long is when you're losing time. When you're on the ground, you're going faster. When you come up to jump to scrub your speed, you want to be in the middle of the bike. Your feet on the pegs. Use your legs and your bars to scrub the speed. Sometimes there's a point when you use a bar so much that you let your legs or feet come off the foot pegs to let the bike lean over easier. Yeah, when you straighten the bike up, you want your feet back on the pegs when you're landing. And when I talk about taking your feet off the pegs is taking your feet off the pegs just a little bit. You're lightening the bike up, you're lightening it up, taking your feet up off the pegs so you can turn that bike over. You're turning your bike with your front end, pushing down on the bars along with pushing with your outside knee on the bike. So if you're turning your bike to the right, you will be pushing with your left knee. If you're turning your bike to the left, you'll be pushing with your right knee to lean it over. It's almost like a whip, but you're trying to stay low on the ground. The majority of the time, you're in the middle of the bike. You never want to be on the back of the bike when you're trying to scrub speed. Ideally, you want to be in the middle of the bike, head over the bars, where if you stopped, frozen in time, you could look down and see your number plate. That means neutral on the bike, middle of the bike. Braking's another thing with finesse. You know, you got to know how much front, how much rear. Don't lock up the rear. You know, don't lock up the front. Not too much front, not too much back. And that comes with riding. It takes not even thinking about it. You know, riding, when you ride a motorcycle correctly, you don't think. It comes natural. When you think, you hold on tight. You don't look ahead. You're not flowing with the bike. This downhill is steeper than any downhill I've seen on any race course or national course. As I come from the top, there's a couple bumps down the hill, and I hop once, hop again, and right when I'm coming down in the corner, that's when I hit my brakes. You have a sharp left here, so you want to hit the brakes real hard or you're going to be flying over the berm. I use my front brake quite a bit harder on something like this because that's where all your stopping power is. When you get down to the bottom of the downhill, there's some braking bumps. Definitely you want to squeeze with your legs, let your arms be free a little bit so you can kind of go with the bike. You have to be one with the bike when you start hitting these big braking bumps because it's going to kick. If you're holding on tight, he's going to be kicking you forward. Okay, now when I come in the corner, I have to shift down from this downhill. You know, every bike's different. You might have to shift down once, you might have to shift down twice. You want to shift not when you're coming into the braking bumps, because if you're in a lower gear, that wheel is not going to be as free going over those bumps. The suspension's not going to be free, the engine's not going to be free. So a higher gear will let you go over those bumps smoother, so then after you're over those bumps, then you can do your downshift, then into the corner. A lot of people come down this hill, brake early, and then when they get to the jump, they'll blip the gas, so it'll make the bike have, it'll get more air, and they're braking too soon. For me, I come down the hill as fast as I can, brake, and then coast off the jump where I can stay lower, and I'm not catching as much air, and I can hold the gas on and my speed into the jump a lot harder. When I come down the hill, you know, I'm on the front and the back brake evenly. You know, I never use one or the other too much. You know, you don't want to lock your brakes up coming down, you don't want to lock the tires up, but when the track is very hard like this one is, and you're coming into it with that much speed, you're going to have a tendency of locking it up, but you got to have control of the brake to know when you're doing it and know when you're not doing it. If it's locking up but the wheel's kind of still turning a little bit, that's okay, but a lot of people come in a full skid, then you have no control of the bike in the full skid. The bike will do this, and when you come off the jump, you'll be sideways, and then again, you won't be riding for a couple months. I'm on the gas hard as I can, and then brake hard as I can. But again, on a slippery surface, you got to have the control or the the patience there to not just completely lock them up, but you got to again be one with the bike. You got to feel what the bike's doing. Don't just do what you think you want to do, you got to feel what the bike's doing too. For me, when you do it for so long, it just comes natural. You don't think about it. It's just what you do, But for riders that are learning, pay attention to what the bike's doing. I mean, each bike's different, 2-strokes you don't have the engine brake, but 4-stroke you do. But again, it's a feeling thing, You got to know what the bike's going to do, and sometimes on a 4-stroke you can give it a little bit, just a little blips, off it to keep it from engine braking. But also, if you're in a higher gear and then you can shift down in the air, you're not going to have so much engine brake. best way to get traction is, if you got a tacky track, you're always getting traction, so it doesn't really matter. But if you got a hard pack, kind of a little bit sandy or rocky track, you always, you want to be in the highest gears you can without the bike lugging, because then you're always getting traction. If you're in a low gear, the wheel's spinning, you're going nowhere, you're getting no traction. You want to work the bike, kind of work with the bike and feel the bike, You don't want to just sit there, hold on, and, well, I'm spinning. No. If you're spinning, okay, we'll move around a little bit and, work with the bike and, find where it gets traction, where it doesn't get traction. Finesse, the throttle, clutch, positioning, gearing, it's all that stuff. Being creative is, keeping your mind open, looking at different lines, and if you keep the same line, you're never going to be able to pass anybody unless they make a mistake. And if you stay in the same line and they fall over, you usually hit them. And sometimes you got to be creative, open your mind, and try different things to be able to pick up time or to be able to pass people. I mean, as amateurs, you come upon people you've never raced against, so, the best thing to do, if the guy's the fast guy, is getting behind him in practice and kind of learn from him a little bit and see what he does, where he's good, where he's bad. There's some people that are real fast in ruts and not so fast on the jumps or not so fast down the hills, so, if you can't pass the guy, then sometimes you got to be patient and go, okay, there's this one corner, there's one place on the track I know I can pass this guy, so I got to make sure I'm on his butt when I get to that point. Lines are the most important thing in a motocross race, is being able to be open-minded to try different things. Even if it might be a little slower, you try it. And also in practice, not always trying to be the fastest guy, but trying to be, if you know the track's going to be hard to pass on, go out there and try to make new lines in practice, because that's the only person that's going to make them. A lot of the other people aren't going to. My situation this year, being on the 125 against 250Fs, sometimes I got to sacrifice my lap times to be able to try to make new lines, inventive lines for when the races come, and I have my lines where I can try to pass. And I think that's important. But to me, people who ride the same line all the time are lazy people. If you move out of the line 6 inches, a foot, it's smooth, and people don't see that. And you never know if it's going to be faster or slower unless you try it. And that's where practice comes in, and even the race, If you lose time in that corner one lap, okay, we'll go back to your line before. You're never going to pass if you follow the guy. That's why you got to try different lines and be inventive and, always be looking ahead. Lines uphill. Uphills have a tendency of having a lot of bumps going up, a lot of acceleration bumps. So you want to look ahead, look where you're going. You could even move over a foot, 2 feet from either side and get out of the bumps. If you have an uphill that has a little bit of turns to it, you want to try to make it the straightest shot as possible, so when I get to the next turn, I'm holding the most speed, not using more track than I have to. Again, cutting down the distance from point A to point B. When I come out here to the outside and I got this right-hander, I have the opportunity to go inside or outside because I'm on the outside of the track coming into it. If I came up to the corner on the inside of the track, I'd have to slow down quite a bit to hit the inside, or if I come into it with a lot of speed, I'm automatically going outside. So if there's a person in front of me, he is controlling where I'm going. If I'm on the outside, I'm controlling where I'm going off of that rider in front of me. I can dive to the inside quickly, or I can sweep around him on the outside. That's why it's always important to be on the right place on the track when you're behind somebody.